Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at a pretty insane situation regarding Marvel Rivals, which this is one of those ones like when I first saw it, I almost thought it was fake because obviously Marvel Rivals is doing so well. It's a huge, phenomenally received game by most of the people playing it. It's one of the biggest games in the world altogether right now. But we just got news a few minutes ago that some of the staff from the company who made Marvel Rivals, NetEase, have been laid off, which obviously a lot of people, myself included, were extremely confused because the way this was phrased, I don't think it really explains the full story. And so when I actually saw what was going on here, it just made me realize, like, most people don't actually understand how crazy some of this shit gets in the gaming industry. So I wanted to make a video talking about it because you would just think that just because Marvel Rivals is so successful and it's making so much money right now and everything, that laying people off would be this inconceivable idea, but the business behind video games is so cruel and crazy, and a lot of it happens kind of like off of the main layer where people are usually looking. So we saw some posts just a few minutes ago start hitting online where apparently American support staff for the game were basically told that they were all being laid off. So if you didn't know, Marvel Rivals is made by a company called NetEase, which is a Chinese company. So the game ultimately is basically headquartered by the team in China, right? So it was made by Chinese devs, but what they did is they outsourced some of the work to an American like support team essentially. And these were the people who just got laid off. So it's actually Americans getting cut out of the game basically on staff. And these people were not just like, you know, people schmoozing or like, you know, sitting at the water fountain or answering the phone all day, right? These were people in pretty prominent positions on the team, including like the game director and apparently a level designer here. So the first post here is from Thaddeus Sasser, and it says, "This is such a weird industry. My stellar, talented team just helped deliver an incredibly successful new franchise in Marvel Rivals for NetEase Games, and we're just laid off. Oh well, times are tough all over. Let's find these incredible people new jobs because we all need to eat, right?" And then, of course, he recommends his coworker, Gary McGee. If you want to pause this and like read through all of it and read the full thing, you can go ahead. But there is also the second post where Jack Burrows, who is apparently a level designer for Marvel Rivals, he says, "Hey folks, well, just got laid off from my job working on Marvel Rivals with NetEase. Was an enormous pleasure to work with my American coworkers who joined me in this sad culling. Just couldn't dodge that big boot, I guess, no matter how big the success of the gig." So obviously these people are looking for some new work. Now, like I said, when you see this story on the surface, you would just think like, how does this even happen, right? How does this entire fucking situation even unfold? The size and location of the teams that worked on the hero shooter have been hard to pin down, and it's not immediately clear what the extent of the teams impacted were or why. Marvel Rivals only recently hit the mid-season point on its first big post-launch content update, and the game has appeared to continue being a hit. In a year of online multiplayer bombs and fast-passing fads, NetEase's free-to-play game remains in the top 5 most played on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S, and is still #1 on Steam. Quote, "I don't get it, man," wrote video game artist Del Walker in response to the news. Quote, "You make one of the most successful live service titles of the generation despite the world telling you live service is dead and still get laid off. What are we even doing at this point?" So as far as we know, despite there being layoffs announced, none of them will affect anyone outside of the United States. That's just my understanding from what I've been able to read of this so far. So it's not like this Chinese company is laying off their own employees at home. They're shutting down the American jobs on this, which were apparently support jobs or like secondary jobs. Now, obviously, when we play video games, it's like really fun to just sit here and explore all this stuff, and like, especially in a game like Marvel Rivals when there's new content updates and everything, but it makes me kind of wonder, like, what is the future of the game? Because we don't actually know how much of an impact even that some of these American support teams may have played in the progress of the game. Apparently, the company saw them as dispensable enough to lay them off here, so it makes me wonder, like, will this push back any future updates for the game, or is this going to be something that affects even like the more immediate things like new seasons or whatever, new content, characters? But when we're playing these games, most of the time people don't really consider like what developers do or what they go through, and they don't really understand like the business that happens kind of in the background with a lot of this gaming shit anyway. In a lot of ways, man, it really is just a minefield of bullshit. You gotta think, like, you basically get to choose between trying to do it yourself or having a major company like publish on your behalf. And a lot of the time when you're working on these games, no matter how much like you love putting time into the game, how much you even personally sacrifice for these projects, you're just seen as a number by these companies. No matter how talented or what role you play in things, you will see that time after time, these companies just see people as like numbers. It's like, how can we get the most amount of production out of the staff as possible? How can we do it while making it efficient for our finances? They don't care about really anything else. Their number one job as a company is to make money. And if they think that the way to make money is to cut staff or to fuck people over, that's what they're gonna do. And that's basically what happened here. Now, we've seen across the entire gaming industry over the last few years, and widely in tech as well, we've seen a lot of these like mass layoffs happening because when the pandemic came around and everything, there was this massive rise in gaming because everybody was locked down and shit, so they were playing video games more often. And then as the years have passed since then, you know, things have kind of returned to normal a little bit more. So a lot of the growth some of these companies did during the last few years is starting to be too much. But in this instance, you would think that since the game is so successful, you would probably want to expand upon the horizons it's at now, right? You want it to stay relevant beyond the fact that it's been out for a few months. So you would think you would want to have like your staff that you've sat here on this project. They know the ins and outs of it. They've already been working with it for years, right? You would think you'd want to keep that team as together as possible. But obviously here, there's no need apparently from the company's perspective. And obviously, no matter how much you try and bargain with the company, they're not going to listen to the employees because that's not what makes them money at the end of the day. And so they disregard anything else. Now, the reality of this is, obviously, there is still the same amount of work to be done on the game. I really don't see NetEase deciding, hey, fuck it. We have one of the biggest money-making schemes on the planet right now in the entertainment world with Marvel Rivals. The game is so fucking popular, it's like top of the charts on every platform. It's an IP like Marvel, which has infinite amount of fucking content for us to draw from and to constantly provide updates with. Meh, let's just pull back, you know, let's do half of the cool shit we were doing. Let's update the game half as much. It just doesn't make sense. So obviously that work is going to be dispersed somewhere along the company that is staying, the part in China, right? So the Chinese employees who have kept their jobs are now going to probably be doing even more work because obviously whatever the support team in America was doing is not going to cease to exist. They're just going to push that responsibility back onto these Chinese employees who were probably the principal part in this game anyway, since they're the main staff. So just shutting down the support team and dragging all of this shit onto them, I mean, it's going to increase the amount of like development crush going on. The employees are going to just be fucking overwhelmed. It probably will harm the quality of the game. We've seen that time and time again. I can't really think of many examples where they're like, okay, we're going to consolidate things a lot more, but we're going to push all the responsibility onto a smaller team. This will go well. That usually just doesn't work out. So I really hope this doesn't grow to affect the quality of the game here because this is like the main game that my friends are all on right now and I'm trying to get into it. I don't want to be like the guy who missed the first month or whatever, right? And the next thing you know, they lay off the fucking staff and push everything onto everyone else and then the game is just unplayable. That would kind of be ass. So, but what this really shows is no matter how talented you are, no matter what role you play, really, as long as you have this like company basically overlooking you, you have a boss, you will be dispensable to these people, right? Like you could just be dropped off tomorrow because apparently they don't think it's worth their time anymore to have you around. And that's kind of, especially in like the game dev world, kind of a scary feeling, I bet. Because you already have to think the way the gaming industry is now, like half the developers out there are just not going to be ready to cut cloth. They're not going to be worth your fucking time. Let's keep it $1.50. Half these people just shouldn't even be game devs. They just fucking suck at their job. That's why there's so much garbage ass games that have come out in the last few years alone. Even though there's been plenty of good ones too, but that's the thing is the ones that are good and they're high quality and they're consistent, they're usually being made by really talented people who have been working on that kind of shit for years. And when you just constantly are breaking these pieces off and throwing them around the industry to different companies to work on different games, and you're fucking up their confidence and you're moving them all over the place, right? It doesn't really seem to bode well for the entire industry at large in general, because you're taking these people who could actually be getting experience and working on franchises and doing things the right way, and you're just fucking destroying them piece by piece. And you're never giving them a chance to actually like make good games a lot of the time. Or if you do, you throw them away immediately. And then of course, when you try to go long term with it, what can you do with that? If you're constantly throwing away all the talented people and churning through all of these massive amounts of developers, how does that really help anything besides some numbers on the bottom line? But I don't even think this company is hurting for money. It's just one of those things where it is what it is in the gaming world, right? So very unfortunate news, but like I said, the deeper you look into it, you know, and you kind of realize that this is an industry problem where it doesn't really matter how good you are as a developer, it's kind of crazy. So anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Optimus down below. Thank you to my Watch Optimus subscribers. Your support helps the channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus talking about the Marvel Rivals layoffs and signing out.